Hey everyone, welcome back to the Good Girls podcast. I'm going to dive right in today because this is a hot topic, digestive problems. Let's talk about stomach acid because we have people that come to us all the time, heartburn, reflux, burping, sour taste in the mouth, burning in the chest, can't sleep at night. And what do they say immediately? I have too much stomach acid every time. That's exactly what people come to us to say. And that conclusion kind of makes sense, but really the stomach acid is not something your body is accidentally producing, right? Our body needs the stomach acid. So when you think immediately, oh my gosh, something's wrong, something's bad, whatever, that is another signal that your body is sending to you, right? And so enter the gut girls. So this is how your body, I laugh, but honestly, this is really, truly a deep problem that a lot of people come because they're not sleeping at night. They feel awful. They feel like they can't eat anything. Maybe they have a small list of foods that they can only eat. So, but what we want to share with them today is that stomach acid it's not an enemy, but the question is, where does it belong? It's our body is made and designed to do things exactly the way that it's supposed to. So tell us a little bit about what stomach acid actually does.
Yeah, and feel free, guys, to share this podcast with any friends that you are walking and talking about your stomach acid or your belching or your burping or, heartburn overnight. Like, share this podcast because they're going to want to hear it too. And so let's get to that, like, kind of explanation that what stomach acid actually does. So when you eat, let's say protein, because protein is something that you absolutely need stomach acid to break down because it's tougher. Think of a steak, like a raw steak. If you're pulling it apart, you see all the little let's say membrane, like the skin, all of that cartilage, collagen that has to be broken down, like that fascia. So if it's protein, whether it's chicken, fish, gosh, any other meat, your body has to break all those intricate pieces of the protein down. And stomach acid helps basically unfold that protein so that your digestive enzymes, another digestive, secretion in your body, can then break it into smaller pieces. So you need both. I think that's what people don't even realize, Diana. It's like, oh, my stomach acid is all the problem. But you guys, you need stomach acid to then kind of signal digestive enzymes. And those actually come, one of the organs that kind of help secrete that is your pancreas. And stomach acid is kind of happening a little higher up in the, digestive chain. So it definitely helps activate those enzymes. And gosh, we see this all the time on the GI map where someone might have stomach acid and they think that's the problem. But in reality, it's that, they don't actually have enough to secrete a digestive enzyme lower into that digestive tract. So the other thing that stomach acid does, which I think no one talks about, is it helps your body access certain nutrients, like from food. Once it's breaking down the protein, think about the iron and the B12 that you get from that protein source. So let's take this back for a second. If you're sitting in your doctor's office or you're walking and talking with your girlfriend and you're like, man, I just, I have all this reflux and I started a PPI over the counter, which is a proton pump inhibitor. Or if you don't know that name, you might think of it as Prilosec or omeprazole or, one of those categories of medication. What I want you to think about is how long have you been on that? How long do you intend to be on that? Because if you forget that you need, a certain level of stomach acid to break down these nutrients, I want you guys to start thinking about that. How long am I going to disrupt this process of my body absorbing and breaking down iron and B12? And what's that going to do to you over time, right? So your stomach acid acts as one of your body's like first line of defense against organisms too. And so think about it this way. If you're on something that's constantly reducing stomach acid, but let's say we're about to go into returning of the school season right now. Back to school is next week for us here in Virginia. And gosh, I think about all the germs that come with that first, let's say month of returning to school. Guys, if you're whether you're the parent, the grandparent, whatever, age you are, if you don't have enough stomach acid to help fight off all those germs that you're getting exposed to, this is another place where then that GERD problem becomes, gosh, I'm sick all the time. Now can't get over a cold, or, I'm just constantly picking up things and I'm constantly down and out. So man, Dinah, I don't even think people have ever thought that entire process through of it's not just GERD. It's not just too much stomach acid. It's, man, this helps with me breaking down my nutrients. Man, this helps me stay, strong against germs. Like, we just don't even take the conversation there, right?
Yeah, and that, my number one thought that comes to mind is balance. So we always kind of come back to this word balance because people think, they immediately say, if the acid burns, then I must be producing too much. Well, for us, it's more like the contents of the stomach are kind of like where they don't belong. So if we do the analogy of like inside your house, you need water, right? And we have plumbing, we have these pipes similar to maybe say the esophagus, right? That then kind of dumps into the stomach. So if the pipes burst and with the running water and the water start to go everywhere, it begins to create damage, right? And then, eventually, my goodness, it creates mold. And, so it's this compounding effect. So it kind of goes back to, why does my body make this stomach acid? And why is it moving back upwards? Why does it feel like it's not in the right spot? So it's those kind of questions that you should really start asking yourself instead of like, do I have too much? Do I have too little? It's hard to know what that is until you do a GI map test. But really the question is like, okay, so something is going on, and how can we make the quickest fix? And so my thought is like, gosh, I would immediately be like, is your meal too large? We talked just recently about one of our clients that, she was trying to eat and multitask at her lunch, at her desk every day for her lunch. And when we just kind of talked to her about stopping, slowing down a little bit, chewing your food really well, not multitasking, it made such a big difference on her reflux, right? Of what that burning that she was feeling. So it's those kind of questions that we want to start asking at this point, right?
Yeah, it's so interesting that you took it there, because I don't think people even the first thing you said is like, is my meal too big? I don't even think people question when they go out to eat. Let's be honest, 90% of Americans are eating out at restaurants these days. And so you don't even think like, is this portion size what my body needs? It's just, here's the plate, I'm going to eat it all. And then you wonder why after that meal, you're burping and belching and you've got reflux. It was that large meal, like Dana's saying, is too big for your actual digestive capacity. And so, yeah, that's going to be shifted kind of up, above that sphincter valve, which, Dana was talking about, kind of separates your stomach and esophagus. So you're going to have that food kind of coming back up. There's also certain times in your life, think about like pregnancy or hormonal shifts in menopause, guys, where estrogen changes can actually play a role in that sphincter being more lax at times. And so, it's not always just I have too much, acid. It's like, no, maybe my hormones are out of balance. But then let's go back to, am I just stressed? Like, is stress causing the hormones to be out of balance? And is that causing the reflux? Those are the questions you really want to ask. And gosh, Dana, I would say one of the symptoms people don't think about, it's not just the reflux and the burning. I've had clients with a chronic low-grade cough, and they've never associated it with that's reflux. They've just been like, gosh, no one's being able to guide me to what this is. And then you start addressing the meal sizes and, what they're eating and the stress, and that cough goes away. And so the other thing I want to point out too is, guys, sometimes Dinah and I are not against medication. There's a time and place. And, if you are someone that has a history of an ulcer, that could legit be a reason why you do have the reflux and the GERD, but you need to work with a clinician to identify that and not just assume that you have an ulcer, because typically what happens is, if you do have an ulcer that's bleeding, guys, yeah, you're going to need a PPI in that case. That's again, proton pump inhibitor, because you need to stop the irritation of that ulcer. That's actually like an open, wound in the digestive tract there, in like the esophageal area. And so, or in the stomach, I should say, esophageal stomach area. And so you do need to get that, assessed, maybe through an endoscopy. Like you might need to do that research with your clinician and ask the right questions of like, hey, what tests are you going to run? to make sure that this is or is not a problem. And then if they put you on a PPI, ask the questions. How long do you plan on me being on this? When can I come off of this? Is there a weaning process? Are there foods I should not eat or eat? Gosh, coffee. Diana, how many Americans chug coffee all day? And then they wonder why they're burping and belching. Guys, caffeine is going to stop the digestive process. So if you want to know why you just ate a meal, how many people have an after dinner coffee? A lot of people. That's why they offer it at restaurants. So they have dinner, then they have coffee right after. And that caffeine is not going to aid the digestive tract in actually putting the food, in like digestion, absorption, and completion through a bowel movement. It's going to make digestion actually just stop. Caffeine will make digestion just stop. And so it sits in the stomach, and then you've got all this belching and burping. So what about asking your doctor, hey, do I need to come off coffee? Or what's a coffee alternative? Or how else can I get around this? Like, you see how in-depth this conversation can get. And so Dan and I are just trying to really get you to understand the topic, and not just think it's a simple, I go on a PPI and I'm done. And then Dana, talk to them. I mean, there's a huge list of symptoms that come along with, stomach acid imbalance. And I just want them to hear these, because I think a lot of times they don't even associate these with stomach acid imbalance.
Yeah. I mean, if you're one of those people, we have people that come to us that say, oh my gosh, I look like I'm 7 months pregnant, but I'm not really pregnant. They're talking about being super bloated. Angela already mentioned some of these with the burping, the reflux. But my goodness, it can even show up in things like constipation. You don't think about that part, or even diarrhea. Of course, if you feel like you're overly full, your food is not getting digested. This is weird, but guys, we always recommend that you look at your poop. So you look at your poop. Do you have undigested food in your poop? I mean, that is a huge clue, and something that you really need to start paying attention to. Are you one of those people that like, I can't eat meat, I can't eat protein? Some people come to us truly and they're like, I cannot eat protein, I can't eat a burger or a steak or something like that. But then some of the symptoms, so those are all like, clear kind of digestive that you can correlate and make sense of it. But then some of the things that you may not be thinking about, guys, we see it in weak fingernails and toenails. We see it in fatigue. We see hair loss a lot of times with the imbalance of this stomach acid that we're talking about. And we talk about, this is where we're going to kind of get more into the science of it, right, Angela? With the low iron and the B12, and I mean, my goodness, food sensitivities. There are so many ways that we can start to recognize and pull this together. So we suggest asking those questions. Like I said, like Angela said, going back to your doctor and being like, hey, I am experiencing some of these things. I've been on this medication for such a long time. What are your thoughts on that? Or of course, like I kind of giggled about it at the beginning. We're the gut girls. Like, we would love to help you if that's something that you've been kind of struggling with at this time. And that's one of the things that we love about our membership, is that we do get to give you access to a lab shop. It's online. It's amazing, right?
It is. And that's what, whether you're working with us or your clinician, you got to be able to know, like, okay, hey, I need to get labs ran. Clearly, I'm having some of these symptoms that we just talked to you about. And so your first step, if you're like, okay, guys, what do I need to do? We're telling you, between working with us, or if you do have a clinician that you trust and you love, get some labs ran. Like Dana said, in our lab shop, you could go on right now if you're a member in our tier 2, and you could order your iron, your B12. You could see some of these minerals and nutrients that tend to be low with a stomach acid imbalance. But in addition, because labs don't always tell everything, you can order your GI map right alongside it. So guys, stop throwing darts at the wall. Like, you get to really get the big picture. And with the GI map, you get to see a bigger picture of what your gut's doing along with these labs. Or like I said, if you're going to your clinician, ask for these labs. And then you get to talk to somebody, especially in, working with us in our membership, of like, here's my story. Here's what I'm experiencing. Sometimes you say something and we're like, did you ever think of this? You know what I mean? We get to be the detectives, which we honestly love doing. And it's sometimes it's just that. And you're like, oh my gosh, that actually makes so much sense. Like that woman the other day that we are one of our clients, like Dana said, she just wasn't slowing down to eat her lunch. No wonder that was, kind of showing up as potentially reflux. And no wonder, gosh, the stomach pain was there and the fatigue was there. And it's like, sometimes we get to just take a deep step into your life and your story, and we get to go a little bit farther than what the labs show. We get to explain the GI map. We get to go and really build a supportive plan with you, which is what our members, that's where they find the transformation, right, Diana?
Yeah. And so, you start thinking about low B12, low iron, some people, I feel like there's a lot more information now about ferritin and the importance of that iron storage in our body. And so you get all these little pieces. And I love that, we're able in our membership to kind of pull all those pieces together for people. So for example, we did have a member the other day that she was like, I haven't done a GI map test in years. I'm experiencing these symptoms. And so she was able to go order that GI map test, and she was able to tack on her iron for blood work inside the lab shop. She was able to do her iron and B12 and, my goodness, of course, the ferritin and vitamin D. We're like, you need to really check those things. Let's really make sure that your immune system is supported, all of that kind of all at once. And so it's literally at your fingertips. And we've worked so hard to make sure that it's so user friendly inside our portal to be able to do that. And so that's why I love, I see a lot of times, and, I'm going to kind of go off the path a little bit here, but, I've said that my husband has alpha-gal syndrome from a tick bite. And I'm in a lot of those groups, and I see a lot of those people talking about low iron, low ferritin, and their digestive issues and things like that. And so guys, when your body is so focused on, that inflammatory response is something that we talked about last week of the tick bite, sometimes that the stomach acid suffers from it too, right? So I'm like, man, these people could benefit so much from working with somebody like the Gut Girls that's going to go deeper than maybe what their doctor does. Now, we're not going to diagnose. We're not going to treat anybody. That is not what we're here. We're gut health coaches, and we're not going to tell you to stop your medication. That's a personal choice, something that you want to do. If that's something that you want to do, we will talk to you about that. But that's not what the purpose of this podcast is to get you off your medication for your stomach acid imbalance or whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah, it's really to educate you. I mean, I think about how many women, Dana, reach out to us and they're like, for some reason, I cannot take B vitamins. I react to them. I've tried everything on the market. And I mean, what's fascinating about that is we start talking like, gosh, has anyone ever talked about your stomach acid levels? Because if you can't break down B vitamins, like let's go there. Like, let's talk about that and not just throw another B, supplement at you and say, oh, you've tried the wrong supplement. Like, no, we go to the root really fast, and women appreciate that. They're like, I just want someone to get me there because I am tired. Even on like the chats that you have with, your husband, it's like, they're constantly going to specialists and constantly trying to get these labs ran. And so it's the beauty of our tier 2 membership, which I do invite you guys to check out. You can go to our website, gutgirls.health, and, take a look. Even our portal is displayed there for you guys to see what you really have access to, and how you get to be in the group, the live calls. It's truly an amazing community and an amazing place to heal alongside other women who get it, and they've been there and they're tired of chasing one thing after another. And so we do welcome you, check us out there. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment in the podcast. And that's something that we can always keep talking about on another episode, but we're so glad that you took the time to join us today. Share this with any friend or family member who has been struggling with issue for a long time. And we hope that they get some answers.
Absolutely. So Again, drop us a comment and we'll see you again next week on another episode of the Gut Girls Podcast.
The Gut Girls Podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. We are not acting as licensed medical professionals. Always consult your doctor before making any changes to your health routine.